morning, I'm Bandula Jayasakara. I'm standing in for young Farah Shaukat Ali, who's gone to Balangoda in search of Homo sapiens. And we have two very important guests today. My good friend, attorney at law, Krishmal Varna Surya. Good morning, Krishmal.
Good morning, Bandula. Good morning.
And Dr. Pratibha Mahanameva, who is also attorney at law. Good morning, Pratibha.
Good morning.
Today, the discussion is on cope. How we can cope, or whether are we coping. Let's start with the island editorial. It says Yahapalana Stench. I'll read the ending and I'll pose the questions to you all. The editor of the island says, sadly the misconduct of some MPs has caused a severe erosion of public faith in the court, which is being manipulated to cover up mega scams and defend rogues. If this is the brand of good governance the present administration promised, the country will certainly be much better place without it. Krishman, your views.
Yeah, we've all been concerned, Bandula. I congratulate the island as usual for calling a spade a spade. We've been discussing for a while now as to whether we are getting reaping the benefits of what most of us took on a lot of pressure to bring. You see, this government is not made by any politician, however much they think that they made it. This government was made by a very silent revolution by ordinary people like us, Bandula.
And the media,
and the media, and who got out on the street and said enough was enough, and that we wanted some form of governance, some rule of law, some beyond, at least some manageable level of anti-corruption. Now all of this has been put into question by what we hear and see daily, particularly on just after the Bribery Commissioner's resignation. Then we come on and we are hit with cope, or as you say, are we coping? So it doesn't appear that things are quite right, and we as those who got behind the making of a new government that we thought was going to be a people-friendly government need to be concerned.
Pratibha, your views. I mean, I wish young Krishmal was in parliament, but that's a different subject. Let's bring it up. But your views on this?
Yeah, I mean now the COPE, when it was set up with a good intention and in good faith to find all these corruption, malpractice which happening in government institutions. Now there is a very clear case, very clear-cut case, central bank. In that central bank bond issue case, which has been investigated and already they have evidence, when the chairman of the COPE, when he want to present the case, what happened, it was a division. It is the national government. That's why I told you most of the time, if there are two parties running together, it's very hard to come for an agreement. Many disagreements are there. Now we have clearly seen the chairman's report as well as the United National Party members, they have a separate one. But what I want to take this draft report, before that what has happened, United National Party members, they clearly made a press statement, 1,400,000 billion. Now there is a fraud, therefore we want to start investigation, criminal investigation. Now my simple question, Bandula, why can't they complain this to the so-called commissions and start the investigation rather than coming up a media show? So United National Party, now they have understood there are some malpractices, frauds happen, so why can't they sign the report which is to be presented by the chairman?
And Pratibha and Krishman, I'm using the newspapers today. Now take the island. It says the COPE chairman to reveal harassment at the hands of UNP members, where Sunil Handuneti has said. That's a report in the island. Then you go to the Daily Mirror, and where Harsha says nobody pushed that Auditor General to change his findings. And Ajit Perera, another of your colleagues, a lawyer, says COPE will present a landmark report. What are your comments on this? It's very interesting. No. They say he was harassed. Sunil Handuneti says then harassment.
You see, this is I completely agree with Pratibha. This is not a state of affairs that we want to see. You see, whether it's Handuneti who from the JVP or Ajit Pereira, our learned friend from the UNP, they are all members of a committee, one committee, not several committees. You see, this Article 148 of the Constitution, Bandula, vests absolute control over our money on the legislature, because why the people's representatives need to be in control of our money. Now, part of the investigative process of to see whether that money has been spent properly is in COPE. Now, under Standing Orders 126, the COPE is set up, and it's very clear that under the reports, the committee shall present a report. There are no the reports of committees.
What are they talking about? 2-3 reports.
You can't have several reports of a committee. It's in violation of the standing orders. In my interpretation, there is a COPE set up under 126, the Committee on Public Enterprise. It shall present through its chairman one report, a report. It doesn't talk of the reports or several reports. Of course, as both of us know, in a judgment, say for example in a court, a judge can dissent. Say if there are 3 judges, one judge can give a dissenting judge. So there is a majority judgment, then there is dissenting. So similarly, I suppose COPE can also, there is nothing really covering that in the standing order, but if they want, if some people were to dissent, they can say, this is our report, but these people abstained from voting or they didn't agree. But you can't have several reports. This is going to be a mockery of the system.
So it should be Handunetti's report. He's a chairman. This will be his report.
It shouldn't be Handunetti's report.
Yeah,
it
the
should be the report
as
of the Committee on Public Enterprise presented through its chairman.
Yeah.
And also, I don't agree with now there are people. I hope that this will not be misinterpreted. Now, people like Mr. Handunetti went into Parliament.
Yeah.
And then he has been given a job of work to do.
Yeah.
No, I don't agree with him on getting up and leaving. You see, but first of all, you can't get
You
up
should
and
not
leave.
run away. Yeah, that I agree.
You can, I mean, if someone is challenging you, you must stay there.
Yeah.
Stand your ground and say, no, I'm the chairman. I have been, unless I'm removed as chairman, I give one report. And if anyone has a problem with it, get out.
Now, very interesting viewer question. This is directed to you, but it's a political question, where a viewer is saying that the Prime Minister is fighting for his career and not for the company or the former central bank governor. Your views, because you would have been in the parliament ideally, so you're a politician, cum laude, so Pratibha, you know you're into politics in your own way. It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean now,
I can
when Prime Minister accepted this post, he was labelled as Mr. Clean. That record was there. But now happened like fast, he tried to save his friend at any cost, I'll start the point. When central bank governor was to be appointed, several ministers, even president also not agree with that. But finally he appointed. But as a result, it reflects a lot of malpractice.
All the leaders protect their friends.
That's right.
Friends with benefits.
Friends with benefit, families with benefits. So what is going to happen now? We have seen this very clear-cut case. Still they try to protect him. That's why even ministers like Partly Champika Ranawaka has come forward and making these statements.
Krishman.
Yeah, no, I just to continue for what you see, the Prime Minister, the old Latin term primus inter pares, first amongst equals. He is a Prime Minister of the House, of our legislative body, he is the Prime. So the Honourable Prime Minister now, if he is, as Pratibha says, Mr. Clean, or he has been known to be Mr. Clean, needs to come out and say, well, we have appointed a chairman of the we expect the Honourable Prime Minister as the leader of that parliament or the governing party. He is the one who has mustered the highest number of votes, which in the opinion of the President has given him the post of Honourable Prime Minister. He is the first amongst equals there. Now he needs to take leadership and say, no, let the report come with however scathing. That is the only way to defend his government. Because otherwise, if something were to happen where 3-4 reports came, or we were to see some mud in this whole process, it is his government that's going to be under scathing attack, where we as people who work to form this government are not going to be afraid to call a spade a spade.
Now, another thing in the newspapers, they said the SLF, about SLF, bond scams. SLP won't shield perpetrators. SLP stand won't cause split in ruling coalition, but that's what now the SLP ministers are saying.
Because the SLP now having a greater problem. Now that already determination given by the Supreme Court. Now it passed by Parliament. Then how these SLFP members can go to their village, grassroots level? They need vote. Yeah. And the other one, this bond scam. So one and only alternative they have to agree with the chairman COPE, as Krishmal specifically said, according to the Constitution 126, it very clearly say what is that, only one report. So therefore they go with one report. But definitely, Krishmal, you see in future there may be another report coming. If 2 reports are there,
so they're already report? Showing no.
Yeah, that's
they're already and also
that is not legal.
Sorry, I want to be now. Yesterday on the news we saw people, both sides, commenting on draft reports. Now, until that report is presented to Parliament,
it's a secret report.
It's a confidential report. You can't quote excerpts from it. That itself is a violation of Parliament.
Looks like these MPs are thinking the masses' asses.
Mandula, I don't think half of the MPs know Parliamentary protocol. Ask them how many of them don't standing orders of Parliament. I mean, you see, there was a time that we used to respect. I remember my father telling me, but that there was a time that in school they knew the names of all the ministers in Parliament. They knew who did what.
Because very few ministers were there.
But now the Parliament has become a business. It's only wealthy people who have made newly rich money who can spend millions and get onto the Manapapore who can get in there. I don't think that learned, educated people who can actually. It's a very boring affair, Bandul. I remember you all interviewing me during the election time. I said Parliament is not a superstar show. You don't need superstars going around with cameras to do this job.
Yeah.
It's a very diminutive, silent job that you do to make laws for the rest of the
But
country.
who has to take responsibility?
Only one point. Now, as Krishmal said, why they are showing these 2 draft reports, they want to say we are the...
Yeah, correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's why now this has become a politicization. In that, how can you take action in future? Right? If you want to take them to Bribery Commission, no FCID or any other place, Krishmal, which report you accept?
So that's COPE 1, COPE 2.
That's right.
But shouldn't the president intervene? Shouldn't the president intervene?
Definitely.
His Excellency the President is the head of the executive body. Now remember, COPE is part of the legislative arm of government, right? Now, the executive has authority over, as commander-in-chief, as heads of several executive bodies and investigative arms. The executive can now give directions. Executive can say, well, he can't interfere in the legislative process. If COPE comes out with 2 reports, I think the executive must send back a ruling to the speaker or even ask for interpretation from the Supreme Court. Under the law, can this be accepted?
Yeah, now see, the divine headline says that they will take legal action.
How can they publish 2 reports?
You
If
can't.
the chairman is there, alternative report signed by who?
That is illegal.
That's a legal point where I am making.
That's illegal.
No, absolutely.
It's illegal. No need
both
to
of
go to
us,
Supreme Court.
both of us agree that
it's
there
clearly
can
there.
only be 1 report under the hand of the chairman.
It is very clearly saying that.
And it's
that
only
means
in
they
the
don't understand
absence
all
of the
this.
chairman that one can appoint someone else to stand in that place.
But it's
does
very
not
interesting.
happen.
Now we were talking of the Prime Minister, and like as far as says dear Prime Minister, so where viewer is saying, don't you think that finally the fingers will be pointed at him?
Yes, we all agree that he's head of the government. He's answerable. He's answerable to the Parliament. And also the Parliament is answerable to us. Remember that it's our sovereign power that you're holding. You have not gone there by some whim and grace of the ancestors or some other benefit. The people of this country, by the exercise of the sovereign power we have, which is absolute in us, inalienable.
And also he is the head of the cabinet. And also leader. But president also involving him, but he can make a direction.
Yeah, that's executive arm.
Only he should accept one.
Yeah,
that's why this SLFP group, Lakshmanya Pabewardena saying we are only accepting
one
report. So they.
Yeah, but he also says that once the COPE report is submitted, right, then that the president will take legal action. Banum kara wanchawada janadipatiga neetimaya piyawara. That's what he says.
Frankly, that's one of the problems we have, not just with COPE. Now, Pratibha, you are part of the Human Rights Commission also, no? We have several commissions and committees though that don't have teeth to bite.
Yeah.
They can chew. There's a single saying, Bandula, alluwata hapanna puluwanda. Now, they can allanna, but hapanna ba. Now, COPE also, they can give recommendations.
Yeah.
They can find fault, but there's nothing further they can do. So, which is why now, there are agencies, the police, the FCIDs or the CIDs or whatever IDs that there are, you can direct them to take action based upon these findings.
Pratibha, we were speaking of Prime Minister. Now another viewer says, the final fingers will be pointed at the president.
Definitely. Now before before that, I have one issue. Now UNP also saying 1,400,000 billion, and this COPE chairman also saying, why can't they go to CID or there is another presidential commission to take this as evidence? Now already it is there. But as Krishmal perfectly said, this is where you can buy. The main thing is you can take this as evidence. So if you can take this as evidence, the problem solved. But even they don't want to that. They want to drag it because budget debates are coming.
Pratibha, let's not. Now I know that several, including the Honourable Prime Minister, lots of people are very good at forming committees and investigating for months
we are
and
not
months.
interested in committees.
So we don't want another commission of investigation and a committee to go on till the next budget in 2017. You need to take action on this now. We have waited for 1 year since his government was formed. There is a report here.
They want to delay this. Definitely they want to delay this. The issue is the Prime Minister's friend you have to save.
That's what it
How
looks
can
like.
you?
That's what it looks like. That's and it's not. It's a public secret. Everyone's saying that, including the Honourable Prime Minister, several members. That's why they went into COPE and
all these politicians got friends, no?
Yeah,
Krishna. So they all protected.
Mandula, all of us also have friends, no? And some of them dabble in politics. Some at the very highest level. But we don't mix that with our professional duties. No, say if they come to court, say, do I go and tell a lie on behalf of one of my friends who I'm representing just because they're a politician? I can't, because I have a duty as an officer of court to tell the truth. Similarly, in Parliament, you must do the duty, the job that the people sent you to do. Forget your friendships that you can have in the evening at some club.
Yeah.
That's the long and short of it. What do you say, Pratibha? You can have your friendships outside your job. Your job is to do the legislative job that we sent you to do.
And also, Krishmal, the JHU, they have said that rupees 10 billion loss incurred by government should be returned, right? And also, Weaver says that they should be punished. What are your thoughts as legals?
Punished is a question that should be tested in evidence. Now remember, all these are allegations.
Yes.
This is a good finding for us. If this comes out, and as the drafts are commented upon, if they say there has been, you see, I don't agree with some of the headlines Mandula sought to say, but perhaps the journalists don't understand it. They have said COPE finds so and so guilty. COPE can't find people guilty. Am I correct, Pratibha? The pronouncement of guilt or not
COPE
can
got
only
no teeth.
They can't.
No. Pronouncement of guilt can only be pronounced by a arm of judicial arm of government. Arm exercising the judicial power of the
They are
people.
only suspects.
Yes, so they can make allegation, but they can make finding. We find that this is irregular. We find that and that can lead to a finding of guilt by an institution of the judicial arm of government. So that is where it ought to go with these findings.
But now I have one problem. This Honourable Minister Ajit C. Pereira say they also agree that there were certain frauds. No?
Yes.
Why can't he take this report to FCID or any other commission? If they take that to those commissions, we agree with you. But they are not showing it. But the only issue they want to show, there were some malpractices, not by the governor, but by the perpetual private company limited.
This is the ideal case of trying to miss the wood for the trees, no, Bandula. Now they are trying to pass the blame on to perpetual treasuries.
Already passed.
But remember, this is once again, the people should challenge this. The public are only worried about what the public servant has done. The public servant here was the governor of the central bank. We are, perpetual treasuries is a private entity. If there is some fraud that they have committed, there are enough agencies to look after that. We don't need parliament to advise on how they should take action against perpetual treasuries. That's a private entity. But Bandul, remember,
they are diverting with the question. Question is one.
Public officer, public officer is the governor of the central bank. He is the one that they should be taking action.
But Krishmal, they are diverting the question.
Precisely.
But then Krishmal, there is a statement as well as a question by a viewer. The statement he's making is commissions are delaying tactics used by the PM as he lives by committees. Then his question is who should be punished? The former governor, the PM, who and why? It's a very interesting question.
If the former governor is at fault and the report has findings against him, then he should be presented before an arm of the government that exercises judicial function, either a court of law or a prosecution arm of judicial function of government. And if he is found guilty, that's the action that COPE needs to recommend. COPE can, in their findings, they can say that perpetual treasuries or allotments or someone is also at fault. But they are private entities. We don't need COPE to pronounce. COPE is not there to pronounce on private entities. COPE is there to look after public enterprises. And what is the public enterprise that's scrutinizing on this occasion? The central bank. Who was the head of that public officer? The governor. We need you to tell us, has the governor done right or wrong? Very simple.
It's very clear. Now it's very clear why the president did not extend the period of the central bank governor. The first suspicion is there. And number two, all these allegations are coming up. If there are certain allegations, what they have to do, rather than taking actions delay, he has been appointed to another new post. Now he is a suspect of one and the government has appointed to him another one. So what is this really? Like past government, these also following the same precedent and practice. I mean, first they have to stop that. And then if there are certain allegations against him in the court, why you are appointing these suspect people? So that's the main question.
What is the joint opposition doing about it? Are they keeping quiet or?
Frankly, I think the joint opposition, contrary to my earlier criticisms of their political agendas, which I still have, at least we have a semblance of an opposition in parliament. Because of them, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
However, the joint opposition also now must not play politics with this.
Yeah.
I am actually at least asking them now. If we feel that the government is not going to do something, at least you show the people your genuineness and credibility at least now, and take the issue on. Don't take politics into this, but take the issue on and ask for action against those who have perpetrated any offence in terms of the COPE report. And ask for one report, please.
Yeah.
We don't want 500 reports. There is only one COPE, one report.
Krishmal, they have agreed. They are going with the chairman's report. So that's why the standing committee say.
Yeah, but they can't go on the chairman's report, and some other report also can't come.
Yeah. Other report has, so they have to stop
they
it.
must reject that.
Right, that's the point. They have to understand and argue in
Parliament. And if you can't ask the president to ask for a constitution, there is nothing to interpret as Pratibha said.
Clearly
126 of the standing orders are very clear. There is one COPE, not 500 COPEs. Then the 130 and 130, I think subsection 2 of the rules, parliamentary standing order, very clear. The report presented by the chairman. No several reports. The report.
But now both, I mean the previous government, I mean there various allegations, there were people who benefited then, there are people who benefited now, but they have been playing with EPF funds. What are your views? They've been, that's what even this bonds stand. It's all EPF funds.
Last government also, they had this problem, EPF money invested in bankrupt companies, right?
Yeah.
So this is also some of these points we have to see when it comes to the COPE. But what has happened, had they taken any action against that? Whether the central bank, they are running the EPF separately, right?
Yeah.
I was a member of Security and Exchange Commission last time. They actually sometimes they said, no, we are not going to invest this money because of the SEC rules and directives. They stopped.
Did you keep silent during the time when these things happened?
We raised.
You gave a voice.
Yeah,
Can I just take 30 seconds and add to that? Now, Bandula, remember that COPE, now we all talking about COPE.
Yeah.
And one of the investigative functions of COPE was Central Bank.
Yeah.
Let's remember, COPE is a Committee on Public Enterprise. Under this regime of the last year, how many allegations have we seen? Sri Lankan Airlines. There's a big allegation of mismanagement. And that friends of the Honourable Prime Minister and other cabinet members on the board of directors who had no experience in running an airline. Right?
So same as the previous government.
Then there was this allegation about, I mean, I was also a board member of People's Bank, right? There was allegation about I remember discussing it. Now what are they doing? Once again, it had been hushed up, and that poor man who came out with it, they have sent a letter of demand to him saying that he discussed it publicly. So that part. Then Mihinya. Then now we come to the central bank scam. There are so many issues that this government is trying to hide under the carpet, which I don't think they ought to do, because you are dishonoring the people who brought you there. Remember, you have to go before these people again, and I for one, and I'm not going to stand for supporting any one of you if you don't bring the truth out.
Krishna, this is very after you.
And another point I am going to make. My one argument, whether this bribery or corruption commission is independent. When the Director General resigned, what happened? Lot of ministers, they came on media and they said this Director General had revealed many secret confidential information to outside interested parties. My only issue is this. According to Bribery Act, Section 17, it clearly says before you accept a post, you have to make a declaration that you are not revealing this. Why can't these ministers complain against this Director General and take action? So now you can understand. These are all media shows.
You were a member of the Human Rights Commission. What happened then? I mean, there were so many violations. Did you keep quiet?
We have given recommendation. Even in the election period, I openly said executives are not entitled to do these open political activities.
But
we
these
said
politicians
it published in Sirasa mainly, and there was some problem for me
but also on the Bribery Commission report, remember a week back, Bandula, the government joint spokesman came up and spoke of that letter given to the Emir. Remember? Now we said when those Dubai funds were being spoken of about a year ago, we said you have gone the wrong way about this. At the time there was no discussion. Once again it was hushed up. They spoke of monies in Dubai, and then there was a sudden drop. Now it comes out that that is in fact so. They have gone to a Dubai court with a letter from His Excellency the President to the Emir saying this. You can't get information like, surely when you go to another country through a court process, you must go with the right procedure. A commercial capital like Dubai is not going to give information to Sri Lanka just because the president gives a letter.
Yeah, Krishma, this viewers, now the question will be of interest to you because you have a media background. So this is what I am saying. Now the viewer is asking. They say now they are trying to control the very media that brought them into power, right? And if media like us are not, you are very much a part of us. That even both of you cannot express your opinions anymore. What are your views? What do you think will happen? They're trying to control.
Absolutely. Media, I don't think any government should control the media. And that is quietly where it's going now. We are trying to bring a hidden arm to control and suppress the media. But remember, media need to regulate yourselves.
Yeah.
Media need to come out with a code ethics because both Pratibha and I have spoken on this issue at several public fora. We also feel that media needs to regulate in the way they conduct themselves, but that's the best form is the self-regulation.
Yes.
You need to come within yourselves and say, we are not going to operate beyond these norms. We are not going to breach these ethics. But if you don't do that, the danger is you will allow governments like this to control you.
I will add something to that.
Your views. Yeah.
The issue is this. Now basically the biggest headache for the government is private media. Immediately they telecast all these things without any censorship.
Yeah.
Right? Now the government, they are thinking in the mass media and others, they are going to come up with a new bill. That is where a new commission to control whatever in the private media. This should not happen. The only way public get the correct news. I am not telling other medias are not giving it. All the media, private sector is the biggest problem and they are controlling many things. So that's why printed or this type of media they want to control by a regulatory commission. But they came up with the RTI.
Yeah,
right,
but then we have our checks and balances. You understand, we have been now, especially some of the politicians who came on this program, thanked us on this bond scam, following for months, especially my...
No, we must congratulate Siraj sir for being one of the stations that have continuously, even when others tried to keep it quiet, for continuously agitating the bond scam and thus giving information to the public. Because several times when one person agitates, the others also pick up. But if no one agitates it, everyone keeps quiet. So we must congratulate you and the few organizations that did it, particularly in the print media. Electronic, I think you all have done a very good job. So congratulations to the station for following up on the scam and bringing it to public attention.
And so many issues, and we are educating people. Like we have our checks and balances because now sometimes we have to do the part, not only the role of the opposition, but of the government.
And also see the media secretary sometimes issuing letters by letters to private media, right? How can he teach?
He also needs a job, no?
That's the issue.
He needs a job.
Even Prime Minister was really, I think, warned him not to issue letters like this.
But come on, he got to have a job, right?
He is doing a job, but he's also a lawyer. He should understand what is.
Yeah, but
my
my final question, we are running out of time. That another viewer in response to you said media control in any form is not acceptable. Can always change a channel if we don't like it. That's why we say we report, you decide.
Yeah, I agree with that. But
you have the power of the remote. We are there to reach and tell you the truth.
But which channel you change?
Yeah.
All the channels are giving different information. If one channel is giving the correct information, people will abide by that.
Good answer that viewer is, remember that it's not a case of the channel. These airwaves that all these channels use are property of the republic, property of the people. So if that property, the airwaves are being misused, there is always a chance for the republic, us the people, via some mechanism to regulate it. But I say media should not be touched by a government. Ideally, it should be self-regulated. They must come up with their own code of ethics.
Thank you very much, Krishmal. Thank you very much, Pratibha. So to answer to that, okay, you have the media, right? Then we should, whatever the republic should intervene in this government media. I've been a part of it before. I know how it works. I know when there is no I don't want to mention names, a newspaper, then there is no news, the page one, then there's something to hide, then the directions comes. I think we should not have government media. And tomorrow, young Faraz Shaukat Ali will be back with you with one of the young ministers, Faisal Mustafa. Have a nice day.